Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sangha Live. Welcome back or welcome for the first time. My name is Janice and just happy to get to be here with you this morning. I'm here to introduce Caverly Morgan. She's leading this morning's meditation and has been for the last few weeks and will continue to do so moving forward as well. Caverly Morgan is a meditation teacher. She brings 20 years of teaching experience and practice experience. And the spirit of her teaching blends a Zen approach as well as non-dual approach. Caverly is also a nonprofit leader. She founded the nonprofit Peace in Schools, located in Portland, Oregon, that focuses on providing mindfulness to teens and adults. And she's also the creator of Presence Collective, a growing community of teachers from around all over. Caverly is also an author and so many other things. So I'll bring her on in just a moment. She'll be leading a 30-minute meditation and then opening up for questions. And hopefully today we can get more of you on screen. I also want to, before we get started, to just express my own gratitude to this platform, to Sangha Live. Sangha Live has been around and offering free weekly meditations for the past 5 years. And in addition to that, you can find online in-depth courses. I think it's really touching that as COVID-19 has spread across the globe, Sangha Live decided to launch this daily meditation series as a way to support the collective. So if you want to provide any support, if you can provide financial support, please consider clicking on the green button that says offer donation, Donna. Donna, this generosity, this mutual support is what makes this all possible. So thank you for those who can provide financial support, and thank you for those who are just here, just present. All of it is beautiful and necessary. So I'm going to bring Caverly on screen now. All right, over to you.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much. Appreciate your service, Janice. Thank you. Hello, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, just depending on where you are. Hello. Lovely, as always, to see folks saying hello in the sidebar there. Hello from all over. This morning, we'll move straight into the meditation. I will acknowledge that normally I don't think of Earth Day. I'll say this. I tend to fall in that camp of like every day should be Earth Day. And at the same time, in the same way that we could say that every day could be Valentine's Day, it is pretty nice to have a marker that suggests that I pause, and specifically with my husband, for example, on Valentine's Day, pause to express gratitude for our connection, for our relationship. Celebrate my love for him, his love for me. So I do want to acknowledge that it's Earth Day. I want to acknowledge the way in which the Earth is having a very different experience than it gets to have when we're not in the midst of this global pandemic. So happy Earth Day. Taking 3 of the longest and deepest inhalations and exhalations you've taken yet today. Coming into the position that works best for you for this meditation. and settling. This morning, upon waking, I received a very clear message to offer something specific. We've spoken a lot during these sessions, and if you're new today, know that all the sessions are available on my website, the Sangha Live website. You can go back and thank you to Joyce, who's been titling them, so you can find some of the ones that make reference to the conditioned mind, if that language is new to you. I've been talking a lot about the conditioned mind, seeing the conditioned mind, recognizing how the conditioned mind functions. And I received this clear message this morning to offer something specific in today's meditation. And I immediately heard the voice of, oh, that poem is so overdone, overused, overread. And in recognizing that familiar tone of the voice, I realized, well, someone needs to hear it again. So in trusting that, we'll begin today's meditation with Coleman Barks' translation of Rumi's poem, The Guest House. The last few mornings we've been exploring our relationship to emotion, to joy, to sorrow. And when I was sitting with some of the questions that I wasn't able to get to due to time constraint yesterday, I can see why this poem arose in the field, if you will. So Rumi's Guest House, if you've heard it many times, hear it for the first. What's required of you in order to do that? And if you've never heard it before, hear it for the first. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows, who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight, the dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them all at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So as you settle into this experience of being, notice what's at your door. Notice whether there's any temptation to close the door, to perhaps even slam it shut, to lock it, to resist, to lie that no one's home. It's not bad or wrong. That experience of resistance is simply another guest. She, he, they are welcome too. Consider Jesus at his long table, this Last Supper of welcoming everyone at the table, knowingly, welcoming, knowing that his life was at risk. How is that possible? How could we welcome knowing that our lives are at risk? By recognizing ourselves as unconditionally loving and welcoming presence. by knowing that this presence is unborn, undying, undisturbed by the wildness of whoever shows up at the door. Welcome it all. Welcome it all, not because you're trying really, really hard to be hospitable, but because you know yourself as that which naturally welcomes. Notice any temptation to deny what's here. Notice any temptation to deny what is. For many of us, we get stuck equating this kind of unconditionally loving acceptance with I'm okay with injustice, or I condone acts of harm. Not at all. This accepting awareness simply acknowledges, yes, that exists. It doesn't turn away in denial. Yes, that is. And then rather than attempting to do the impossible, which is peel away from what is, and then hate it or resist it, try to control it, we see the reality of whatever it is. What is the true nature of whatever it is? Think of a child having a tantrum. Do you look at that child and say, that child is that tantrum? Or are you able to see, channel the loving mother in you, no matter your gender, channel the loving mother in you and see this child. What do you see? Can you see the innocence, the purity, the goodness? The tantrum is simply a storm passing through. Can you keep your eye on that child's goodness, inherent goodness? This has nothing to do with rule following. Keep your eye on that. In yourself. When dealing with others. They are one and the same. We are one and the same. We share the same unborn, undying, undisturbed, undisturbable, true nature. Allow your meditation practice to be an invitation to rest in this shared being. To rest as this guest house. Again, if any resistance is arising or agitation, that's not a problem. You might even say, thank you. Another guest. Thank you. Be knowingly this open door. Thank you for your presence, friends. Melanie, all your guests are arguing amongst themselves, wanting to make a point to have the floor. I'm aware of wanting to say, I hear you. And I'm aware that I want to calm them. Thank you, Melanie. Note actually before Melanie, I'm very engaged with your comment, and so I'd like to make a full comment. And as those of you who show up every day know, this is my moment in which it's requested of me to plug the platform, and that's a request that I accept with great joy. I love teaching through this platform. I love that this platform exists. It cannot exist without your support. So do use this opportunity to click on that green link below, please, if you're able to support us in having these teachings continue to reach folks in the way that they've been able to. So Melanie, thank you, by the way. Melanie, I'm very struck by your language, and I hope you'll review it as well. I'm aware. I'm aware that I want calm. I'm aware of wanting to say. Allow the content of those sentences to soften. Shine the light on I'm aware. So this person, this aspect of the personality that wants to calm them that experience is not arising on behalf of true nature. It arises within true nature. It's not separate from true nature, but it's like a different version of the tantrum in the young child. It's an experience, it's an expression of identification with the conditioned mind that passes through awareness. But you are not that. So this, remember in the meditation I said, let the resistance be another guest. It's just another knock on the door. We need not identify with that resistance. This is the same. This part of you that wants to calm them is an aspect of the personality. You need not identify fully with it. This is another guest, the one who just wants everyone to be quiet. Awareness, unlimited, pure consciousness, doesn't have a need for these aspects of the personality to be quiet. Awareness itself is not disturbed. Rupert Spira uses the metaphor of notice the emptiness of this room. Is the emptiness disturbed by who comes into the room and who leaves the room? Do that. Experience that inquiry now. Is this room disturbed by what's placed in it? Does the empty space of this room vanish if the walls one day crumble? So thanks for writing in, Melanie. This is the point in the call in which I get to lovingly invite you to come on screen with me. For those that have been showing up regularly, you can see there's a different type of exchange that's possible when we can engage with each other. Not a requirement. Thank you for contributing through typing. But do know that we can just have a more rich exchange if you're willing to come on screen. So just type in the sidebar if you'd like to do that. In the meantime, I'm going to go to the questions. I'm going to try to go in the order that they've come in. I see one question This is from Spencer. Hello, Spencer. My dream last night was the guest house. May I come on screen and share? Of course. Thank you. So, Spencer, thanks for your persistence. I know you tried to come on screen yesterday, and I don't know what happened, but hopefully you were able to have an exchange with Jake that's going to make this possible. Melanie, yeah, thank you. You can understand and see. Yeah, what I was thinking was another guest. I get it. Yeah, good. I'm so glad. So glad. Okay, so while we're waiting for Spencer to come on, I'm just skimming through these. Kavi, yes, happy Earth Day to you as well. Alice, oh good, I'm glad the poem was perfect for you today. And Sue, still learning to sit. Yes, Sue, near Charlottesville, I remember. Grateful for a long spring. Yes, time to bloom. Ashley, I witness that in receiving all these guests, helps me to open greater and be outside myself. Like the storyteller with all the little children sitting upon them. A gift getting to this place. And how do I not reach for this again? Ashley, by recognizing that you are that you didn't have this experience because you got identified with the aspect of the personality that efforted and tried to create an experience or achieve a state of being. This isn't up to you, the small self. This is you, capital Y, big self. Your true nature isn't enhanced through your efforting. It's not diminished through laziness and practice. In my experience without practice, the veil that can appear to cover this experience of true nature can seem thicker. The more dense that veil, the more the Buddha described that we experience ignorance, greed, hatred, delusion. But it's important to recognize that this experience that we're focusing on today is inherent. It's innate. So it's a bit like that fish that asks, how can I get back to the water? The fish might dream that it's outside the water. But it's never actually the case. Thank you, Ashley, for writing in. Spencer, I do not know what to say about the technology. It's Spencer Sangha Live says it's accepting and connecting on my end. So I don't know, Spencer. We seem to have this issue yesterday too, and yet we had other people come on yesterday. So again, I think it must be something on your end. If you didn't get a chance to write Sangha Live yesterday, I do hope you'll write Jake and try to sort this out. Yeah. Sharon, thank you for writing in. Thank you for sharing this translation by Coleman Barks. It's new to you and you really identified with it. And that's sweet, Sharon, that you put it in quotes. Yeah, it's a different kind of identification, isn't it? You related. It spoke to you. Good, I'm so glad. Again, I revealed that my own conditioned voice that I was present to this morning was that of, oh, everyone's heard this poem. It's a bit overdone. Sometimes good to remember that many of the things that are overdone because so many of us can feel some resonance. So I'm glad that for some of you there was that resonance today. I'd love to invite someone else to come on screen. And Charlie, I know yesterday you were, I think, mentioning you'd like to come on screen. So I wonder if you'd be willing. Yes, and thank you, Charlie. I had written down the question that got unanswered yesterday. So thanks for bringing it back to my attention. I'm still curious how I can relate to others who aren't quite there yet with compassion, and without being bossy, which is a conditioned pattern of mine. Great, would love to come on screen. So Charlie, let's try that. And then Janice, maybe that can help us ensure that it's something on Spencer's end, just so that Spencer can know to keep exploring that. And we can confirm that everything's running smoothly with Crowdcast on our end. So let's try to bring on Charlie. And Charlie, while I'm waiting to see if you can come on, I will begin to speak to Sue, your question below. If there are parts to our conditioned mind, and you also sense awareness, space for all of us, is there some way to encourage wholeness and integration into one? Sue, thank you for your question. We don't need to encourage wholeness and integration. So we must question the question rather than try to tackle the question. And that might be a nice takeaway too for us today. How often in your life is your practice task, if you will, to question the question rather than tackle the question? Often if we're tackling a question, we're making an assumption that the question itself represents reality. Is indicative or reflective of reality. So this question, for example, should be questioned because the question itself assumes that you are a separate self that needs to encourage wholeness or needs to make integration happen. That is absolutely not required. In fact, when we try to encourage wholeness or make integration happen, we usually find that we're simply getting in the way. What we can do is encourage an experience of disidentification. When we're identified, we perceive separateness. Identified with the conditioned mind, we perceive that we're separate from ourselves, from each other, and from life. So in practice, as we disidentify, we're left in recognition of what is innate. It's not something you have to do. So remember, with the guest house, you are the welcoming presence. You aren't a separate self standing at the door trying to be hospitable. That's one sweet way that recognizing Earth Day relates to this poem. Look at nature. Look at the earth. Does the earth need our encouragement to be whole? It just needs us to stop messing it up. It needs us to stop using its resources in a way that is harmful or doesn't allow for replenishing properly. It just needs us to stop abusing it. But it is inherently whole. Nature is inherently balanced. It's balanced through design, even with the drama of all that's happened over time within nature. There's balance in that. Notice how conditioned activity that stems from greed, throws that balance. So we're letting go of our attachment to that conditioned activity. We're not trying to push integration. Thank you, Sue. All right, Janice, tell me what's happening with Charlie. I'm trusting we're not able to get Charlie on screen. Yes, Jessica, it's true. We aren't separate from the earth. Of course. When we're identified with our conditioning, we perceive ourselves to be separate from earth. And that's the only way we can then harness the capacity to create harm. Okay, Sangha Live, I don't know. I'm so sorry. The invites don't seem to be working to Charlie or to Spencer. Friends, thank you for trying. I will ensure that by tomorrow morning, we will be in touch with Jake and be finding out what the issue is, because it is such a joy to get to have a more full exchange with you. But this, I do appreciate you writing in. I wonder if someone on the call, perhaps Joyce, perhaps you could just try to come on screen just so Janice can do one more test. And Charlie, you took a screenshot of the error message. Where can you email it for review? That would be info@Sangha Live. info@sangha.live. Great. So please do, so that Jake can support us. Thank you, Charlie. So yeah, Joyce, give it a go if you're willing, even if it's just to say hello, and then we can just see, is it going to work for us at all today? Meanwhile, Charlie, I do want to bring attention to your question since you're not able to come on screen. I'm so curious how I can relate to others who aren't quite there yet with compassion and without being bossy. So this is important to recognize. You're naming a conditioned pattern. How much compassion does it inspire in another if you're being bossy with them? You get that, I think, intellectually, Charlie, but it's important to name, isn't it? You're not going to inspire compassion in another through a conditioned pattern and habit of bossiness. The only thing that sparks compassion is compassion itself. So it's similar to the way in which awareness is that which is aware. Compassion is that which is compassionate. So your task is to access compassion for someone who isn't there yet, quote unquote, with compassion. So if we were on screen, I'd want to know more about how that's manifesting, what that looks like, but I can fill in the blanks since you're not able to come on screen right now. So perhaps my friend is very identified with the conditioned mind and snapping a lot, maybe blaming, accusing. Can I not have compassion for whatever causes and conditions might be leading that person to be identified in such a way? Or will I be busy? Spencer, I'll just finish this up. Thank you. I'm trying to change that. Looks like there's quite a delay and an echo with this, Spencer.
It's on two browsers.
Okay, you'll need to close one. I do know that for sure. All right, wonderful. So Charlie, you just said, I think, Janice, we're going to have to close the call with Spencer. Thank you. I don't know what the issue is, but I do know, friends, that you can't have two browsers open when you call in. That creates quite an echo. Thank you so much to those of you who will contact Sangha Live and sort this out, and we'll make sure everything's working with Crowdcast on our end. So Charlie, I'm really glad you reminded me that tonight I do have a weekly gathering. You can find the details on my website. It's more intimate. It's through Zoom. So it'll be a given that you and I can have an exchange with each other if you come this evening. It's a similar structure. It's Pacific Standard Time, 7 to 8:30 p.m. The details are on the caverlymorgan.org website. And it's just an intimate, sweet group where we have a half an hour sit and then an exchange, much like this. So I would love to see all of you who would like to come this evening. Again, it's through Zoom. And what that allows for is ease in exchange. So we don't do any of the writing in the sidebars for that gathering. So thank you. I'd love to see you there. And for those of you who can't make it tonight, hopefully you can join us again tomorrow. Again, I've loved these sessions. I've loved being with you in this way. I do see there's another question, and I will make sure to read that before tomorrow's session. Thanks for posting a link to tonight's event, Janice. Appreciate that. And Charlie, yes, just to be here is enough. And Charlie, yes, thank you to Janice for all her efforts. All right, friends, many blessings. Happy Earth Day and much love.